welcome back to the Chem Room with me, Dallas.
And me, Billy.
And we're from the band Death Chemist. You might have heard of us. You might have seen us as well.
If you've heard of us, we'd love it if you kept listening to us because we're really loving the support. But if you haven't heard of us, maybe go click some of the links on our pages. You might like some of the music, you might despise us, but you'll never know if you don't listen.
It's a bit of a stop, go kind of, you don't know if you will or if you won't kind of thing, It's like, I like these guys, but I don't like that part.
Exactly, exactly. Well, you're never going to know unless you try. And that's one of the things we like to talk about.
Yeah. I love the song, but the dude in it was a bit of a dick or something.
Yeah. Speaking of trying stuff, thank you to everyone who's given us a bit of support so far on this. It's very new to us. And we listened back to episode 1 and thought it was fucking rubbish, I'm not going to lie.
Got to start somewhere.
Well, exactly. Look, you have to start somewhere, and the easiest place to start is the beginning, obviously. Yeah. So we're slowly kind of taking on everyone's feedback, and next week we're hoping to get on a guest as well. So look forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Big shout out to everyone who's followed us, and keep up the love. We're
Thanks,
loving it.
Guys.
It's great. We're drinking tea as well today.
Yeah.
Decided tea is going to be part of these podcasts. So I've got this, for the people who are watching the video, for the people who are not, you're just going to have to imagine this. I've got this cool-ass Viking mug that I got in York in the UK. It's got lovely, look at it, ASMR.
No.
Fucking hell, that's hot. Fuck.
No brand names, though, unless we're getting a sponsorship from them, like Bell Tea or something. I'm not going to show no logos on my tea.
I'm not going to show many logos for my tea, but look, that's probably a good thing to mention. If there's anyone who wants to endorse this podcast at some point,
come on, Stalker.
We'll help you. You'll help us. It's all about growth at the end of the day. Local businesses. So big shout out to everyone who does support us. We've got some local bands on our shirts. I've got the old Sketchy Boys. If you haven't listened to Sketch, give them a listen. Yeah. Dallas has got Stalker. If you haven't heard of those guys, I feel like you would have if you're in the New Zealand scene right now. If you haven't, give them a listen.
They're like a household name at this point. It's kind of like Nirvana, except like Stalker's lead singer didn't do that. Didn't do the thing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But speaking of new beginnings, we've got Battle of the Bands is on at the moment. I think a lot of bands that for them that is a new beginning.
That is their formation, because I think today's episode we're sort of covering the topics of bands in general. New beginnings, why bands break up. Because I saw something quite interesting on the internet, and it was someone had posted a meme, and it was like, who here comment if you're a failed guitarist? And I thought, well, what exactly does a failed guitarist mean? Does that mean you've kind of like made it and then you've been let down? But then also, what does making it mean? Especially in this day and age where record companies aren't really looking for rock and metal bands. No. You've sort of got to make it on your own these days. So what exactly does that mean? And we found that quite interesting to talk about today. So that's what we're sort of diving into. So yeah,
that's a bit of a tough one for a guitar. Like, what is a failed guitarist?
I guess a failed musician in general. What is a failed musician? Because I feel like you have to. For me, a failed musician is you have to have made it. But also, then lies the other question: what does making it actually mean?
Yeah.
Especially now, because I think my interpretation of making it is definitely. You're doing your band. You're in a great band. You're doing it full time. You're doing a good ring of festivals, gigs and big venues, and you're making money off it. That to me sort of solidifies making it. However, back in the day, obviously making it was you were noticed by a record company, you were signed on, and it was all kind of, no one had Spotify, no one had YouTube, all that kind of stuff. It was all just word of mouth. Look, check out this record I got. Check out this band. You guys are going to love this.
If only it was like so easy to just, because Spotify and all those streaming platforms have really diluted the music industry. It's so hard to just get anything out there for anyone to listen to. These like SoundCloud people been on there 5-6 years, and then they've only got a couple hundred views.
It is a shame because Spotify, I can see the benefits because you can access every sort of music, and it's great that us as artists especially can upload to Spotify and people can hear our music all over the world quite easily. But we don't get a lot. We don't really get anything from Spotify. I don't think many local musicians do, unless you're in the millions of streamers each month. It's we rely on record sales, CD sales, merch sales, even Bandcamp. Bandcamp's still going, and a lot of people seem to just go that route because at least the artist is getting sort of the money they've earned from their recording. It's Spotify's a bit of a weird one.
Yeah.
Like, we all have it. I think it's kind of just become the normal, but we don't really think about the impact, I guess, of it.
It's just so it's so easily accessible for you to have a look at anything, like the newest music, even the oldest music, and
definitely.
whoever's online, which in turn kind of it doesn't put people off, but because it's always going to be there, people would just kind of I'll listen to it later.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll listen to it later, and then they never listen to it, and then just forget about it, and it's just like lost to the ether.
Yeah, for
so,
sure.
like with us having these CDs out, and then there's other bands that are doing like cassettes. Like I've seen some like guys in Wellington, and they're just like bringing back the old stuff. So it's really cool. It's like money, for the art that goes directly to the artist, and you're still getting that like tangible piece of music.
Because it's never always just you're getting the music on Spotify. When you're buying a physical CD or copy, you're getting the artwork with it as a sort of a piece of memorabilia. Like I have a Guns N' Roses CD from probably I'd say late 80s, first album, Appetite. Definitely from the late 80s, and I'm like, it's an old piece of art that I've got with me, and it's great. You can't just go on Spotify, I've got this album, but I didn't download it, I just streamed it when it first came out.
You can't really say you've got an album anymore.
No,
it's like I have it on my playlist. It's like me, so do me and this guy and like the 10 other dudes over there. Like you're not very special. Where like, back in the day, be like, I've got this album. It's like, damn, like where'd you find that? Like, I've been looking everywhere. So. Yeah. No,
so I'm just jumping here. If you're listening to this and you can hear the rain sounds behind us, we don't exactly have a soundproof studio, so if you're catching it in the back, we do apologise, but you're just going to have to deal with it. Call it Atmos.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of rain falls and so do bands.
Yeah, they do. A lot of them do.
Yeah, we've kind of been thinking about, especially in the local scene, there's a lot of bands that just come and go. I feel like when we started, there were so many bands around that we sort of go, we used to gig with them, we used to play with them, we used to hang out with them, but now it's like, man, they've just gone off the radar. It's wild.
There's one band that comes to mind immediately that I think was it was when we did a Battle of the Bands, they were there too, and they've gotten they've done very well. It's the Boondocks. They've just been doing gig after gig after gig. I think they have one soon. I'm not too sure. I have to look that up. But yeah, they've got they did a stage antic last time, and they had like a Sasquatch, and it was like a wedding, and
it's great to see we did Battle of the Bands in 2022. It's really good to see bands who have been in that still continuing, because I know a lot of them, I honestly can't remember some of the bands we played with or have heard of them, since I feel like sometimes you don't quite get past that, because I know we entered it just to sort of get out there and meet new people, but also give it a shot and see if we could win. We didn't win, we made it to the finals, which was really, really great achievement. I'm quite proud of us, especially after a year of being together. I think we did really, really well. But it's nice to see, we hear about the Boondocks all the time. I mean, they're doing brilliantly for themselves.
Yeah, radio
especially a two-piece. That's up there. That's impressive. And they're always on. They did, what was it, Meatstock? That's the festival that's been recently, wasn't it?
I think so.
Meatstock, I think.
Yeah.
What's the other one? I can't remember. But didn't they do a Rock 2000 thing? Or I might be imagining that. If they didn't, maybe get them on the next 2000, the Rock, because that'd be great. And hint us. But it's nice to see bands, especially you've known for years, doing well for themselves.
Yeah,
I can think of so many bands that have been around for like tens of years, which is a long time for local bands. I mean, God forbid we get to that. Hopefully. Yeah,
it's hard to be in a band. Death Chemist isn't my first band. It was my first band, but I've been in many more.
Absolutely.
Before, during that time as well, and there's a couple of them that aren't even active anymore.
Yeah.
And,
there's always sort of the question as well. Like I've also been the same. I've been in quite a few bands. I'd say at least 4 or 5. But Death Chemist has been the project that's stuck out the longest. But yeah, there's always kind of that question in your mind of, would that band maybe get back together, or would I rejoin it if I was offered? It's considering the years that have passed and maybe I've learned more stuff. it does kind of bring up the question though. What can you bring a band back together? Like, I think it depends because I'd say for me, I've had some people. I used to play in a Motorhead tribute band called the Bastards. That probably only went for about a year, but I've had a few people kind of say, "Yeah, what happened to that? And is it gonna make a resurgence at any point?" And it's something I would like to do again because I really enjoyed it. It was just Motorhead covers, But it depends, do the old members want to do it? And is there a demand for it? Obviously, there's a little bit, but I think it depends. I haven't got hundreds of people, well, obviously not hundreds. I haven't got 50 people screaming down my face, "Get the boys back together,"
Yeah. I saw when you guys made your Instagram, it just skyrocketed and even went over Death Chemist's follow count. And we were 2.5 years old at that point, and we're just they're just. But obviously people like Motorhead.
I've had chats with the one of the members, and he's not really interested in researching it. So if it were to come back, and it would be if I want to do it, really probably would be with new people. But it depends. It's not my band. It was something that was started by the other two, so I can't really take claim for it.
Yeah.
But there's so many groups out there that I remember kind of being around, especially when I started going to gigs. Have you ever heard of a band called Deadbeat Boys?
No.
Was that their name? I hope I got that right. I'm so sorry if I didn't. But they were the big thing back in 2018. They were. I'd say they were like us. Like the singer James, he was in the crowd all the time, and they were opening for so many international acts. I think they did the Power Station twice in 1 week or something ridiculous.
Oh.
Opening for people, and James corded mic in the crowd. Just the energy and the songs. They're very punk rocky. Not pub rocky, pop rocky, I guess, but it was stuff that you were this is great, this is fun to bounce along to.
I could have sex to that, that kind of thing. if that's the vibe, then I'm in. I mean, I wasn't into. I hadn't even started music at that time, but I would look them up. I'll pop a link in the bio for was it Deadbeat Boys?
Deadbeat Boys. I'm pretty certain I got the name right. I'm so sorry if I didn't. I'm sorry, guys. I've met you a couple of times, but that was again years ago, and I was probably drunk, and so were you.
Yeah. But it was with the Motorhead. You did that for quite a while. And
got a good year out of it.
Yeah,
about a year. But also the boys, they started it probably a year prior to me. Before I joined, it was some people from my old band. They all kind of started that up, and then they split up from a couple of people, and I just expressed my interest. Said, look, I'd be interested in trying it because it's something new. Having not really had listened to Motorhead at the time too, obviously I think everyone's heard Ace of Spades and maybe Bomber or maybe
Just
Overkill.
Go to Ding Dong on a Thursday night, you'll hear it.
Yeah. But I always thought, I think a lot of people think this, they all sound the same, the songs, but once you actually dive into it and start learning it, especially dissecting it, they sound different. But yeah, it did go for a while, and I don't know if it will come back, but it's something I'd definitely like to do again, for sure. Yeah.
Well, there's always, always kind of go off on your own path.
Definitely.
Or start a side project. I've had a side project while being in multiple side projects.
I think you've had 3 bands in one go as well, which has been a juggle, but it's not been difficult.
Yeah, the most I had at one time, there was a moment where I was doing some drumming for the boys in Monkey Brain, now known as Nothing Nice, which Seb is actually in now.
Yeah,
he's
Seb's the drummer.
I'm sitting there, and I'm just going away, and I'm like, wow, I'm doing way too much. I'm trying to, drum for these guys, and I'm already in Shadowless, which was the new name for the Venom Dolls, the reformed version. And then there was No Reason, and then Death Chemist as well. And I was trying to juggle all of them at the same time, as well as having a personal life and trying to work and
it does become a lot.
Yeah,
I did 3 bands at one point when I was 21. 3 bands, and that was. It takes a lot out of your life because we we practice after work on a Wednesday, for example. 6:30 till 10 or earlier.
Something like
but
that.
it depends. It's a lot because you've worked all day and then you're doing a band practice. You don't always have the energy, but it's something exciting to get to. But when you add 2 more bands into the mix, it's like, fuck, I've got to get that in my schedule somehow, and I'm already like stretched as it is.
Yeah.
And
now I'm just down to the one band, the one Death Chemist. Kind of left the other ones. Like I said before, Seb's in Nothing Nice now. I don't know what's going on with Shadowless, and No Reason's kind of laying low at the moment.
Yeah.
I think because the guitarist who's in Headlock, and then the drummers in Drop Off Point. And those bands are just like, they're just doing like really great.
That's
right
when
now.
side projects get tricky. When your main project comes back in.
I think that's what it was. It was like a side project. And now everyone's main thing is back up, and it's like, okay, we're gonna like go back here now, and then when it gets quiet, like it's like when the off season comes around, let's go play. Like, let's go do this one.
I don't know if you find this, but I think everyone who is in a band should definitely give a side project to go at least once, because it really opens up your creativity. Like, I remember when you were doing Nothing Nice, there were some pretty hectic riffs coming out, because obviously it's all hardcore. And there were some pretty hectic riffs coming
No Reason. Nothing Nice is the other
God,
band.
I'm so sorry, guys. No Reason. When you were doing No Reason, there were some pretty hectic riffs coming into the Death Chemist practices at times.
Yeah.
It does, further your skills and your musicianship.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't doubt that.
That's a hard word. Musicianship.
Musician. Fuck. But yeah, and being in so many bands as well, you also find get close to a lot of people too.
Yeah.
Where there's bands with like 5 members or bands with 4 members, and then you just meet heaps of people, and then all of a sudden you're seeing them everywhere, and then you gain a lot of friendships from that as well.
It takes you into new scenes as well. Like we were, when I was in the Bastards, we were on the Chaosis gigs, or the Chaosis runs, where they do the festivals sort of all over New Zealand, and you meet so many different people. It was a good run for a while. It was a really good run. But those gigs are hectic. They're all just tribute bands, Chaosis, and a couple of openers from each town. They're massive, but I think they're great for what they are. But it's a tribute night, really, at the end of the day, and it's good on them. They put on great gigs.
Yeah, good on you, Chaosis.
Good fun. Yeah, and they're doing really well for themselves. I think they've been overseas now and everything, so they're doing great.
International even.
Yeah,
in terms of like friendships, like I mentioned before, you get really close to your band members as well.
definitely. Yeah.
Sometimes you get really close to them. Like that's all you. That's all you guys.
We've shared a bed once.
Yeah.
Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah. The things you do when you're on tour.
Yeah.
But you get to know somebody really well. I mean, me and you, fucking would share a house now.
How many years down the road are we now? I don't even know. When did we meet? 2021.
Was it?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, it was just... Yeah,
early 21, so about 4 years.
And then Death Chemist was born.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very quickly,
We had sex in a cafe and Death Chemist was born.
I was going to say, that's how I met Spike, who filled in for Seb, but I was like, wait a minute, no, we didn't have sex in a cafe either. I just met him at the cafe.
Yeah.
Followed it home and stuff like that. Nah.
That's kind of a good point, actually, sort of talking about side projects and stuff. I mean, I think everyone's sort of been through a moment, I'm not sure if everyone has, but we've both been through moments where we've left main projects.
Oh, yeah.
And this is right before we met each other. Like, I left my main project, which was Forsaken Age, and Dallas, you left...
Video Nasty,
that was it. I can't believe I forgot that.
Yeah, that's all right.
But... it was an interesting point for me, at least, because at that point, I think Forsaken Age was in such an odd spot where I'd done everything I'd wanted to with them. We did a whole album. We'd done 2 shows of a tour, I think it was. But we were going back into a COVID thing, and I just wasn't having fun. I felt like I'd kind of hit the wall and done it, and I was kind of ready to just stop doing music, really. But then, just kind of branched out and met you, and the spark and the flame sort of reignited in the creativity, which was great. So meeting, new people can really help your creativity. And,
Yeah.
and I remember sort of my eyes being widely opened to the stuff that all the boys in Death Chemist listen to. It's like, wow, there's a whole world out there of just other kind of music that I actually really like.
Yeah,
And I've
yeah.
sort of thought, nah, I shouldn't like that because it's this style, you know?
And the fact that we've kind of become so like close with each other that
Yeah.
we're super comfortable around each other. We've traveled New Zealand, and
Yeah.
we've
We've done a lot.
gone to the
in
South
band,
Island, and like
yeah.
we've shared cars together for hours, and we haven't like wanted to. I mean, maybe we might have wanted to like murder each other in our heads.
I think
but,
look, at any point, everyone has their moments.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's how life is, even personal. But that's how life is, and you work through that.
Yeah, well, they keep coming over
Yeah.
every week, so I think we're doing pretty good, and like
That's actually quite a good episode talking about tours.
Yeah,
we could do
yeah,
that. We
yeah.
could talk with someone, get someone in and talk about
we
that.
can talk to an actual van that has been on tour. How do you like the tour? Beep beep.
I'll call up High Race and find out what van we took one year to Wellington and back.
Let us know if you want us to talk to a van. Like I'll go out and I'll do
Could
that.
be quite funny to do an episode just like in the field somewhere. We could do an episode at a venue one day. That could be quite funny.
Yeah, actually, that would be a great idea.
reckon-
If you guys want us to do that, let
We
us
could do
know.
it in an intermission. You could come see us at a gig, and we
Yeah.
could do like a Q&A, like football. You there, the one with the curly hair. You tell us.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
But yeah. So when I was in Video Nasty, compared to Death Chemist, bless those guys in Video Nasty as well. Bless Sam and bless Jack, and they've been doing they've been like going their own way, which
Are
is
they
totally
they're
fine.
not together anymore, are they?
I-
Nasty, is it?
I don't think it's been like officially stated.
That's
but
a shame.
I think it's I feel like it might have been kind of going that way. Besides, they're like one of them's not even in the country at the moment. He's he's traveling with them with
See,
his
that
family.
brings up quite a good point as well, which I'll get to, but you continue with
Yeah. Kind of lost my train of thought. The differences between how I was in their band. Obviously, I was a lot younger. I was like 20 years old. I'm 25 now. Compared to them, we didn't really hang out. We didn't really have much in common. So it was kind of also affected the music as well.
Yeah.
Whereas in Death Chemist, there's a lot of like back and forth bouncing between everyone, and then we can like, have a laugh about something.
And you sort of need that friendship in the group, I think, to really, because you can go in and write songs together, and that's all great, but we have ridiculous banter at every practice. We'll fuck around for ages and just talk shit. I mean, even when we're on tour, we'll do sound check, whatever, and then we'll just find a pub and just go for a beer and just yarn. It's about, you kind of need that friend. You don't need to be hanging out every single day or every weekend with each other. It's good to get space from each other, but you do need that sort of friendship, because otherwise you're just kind of two awkward people, trying to
make some music, man. You want to make some music, dude?
Oh shit! Yeah, no, it is like that. It's odd. I've been in sort of jams and practices, or even like auditions with people, and I'm like, this just doesn't quite feel right. I think you can gauge a vibe straight away when you know, and when you don't know.
Yeah. It can be like super.
The
awkward
dynamics
at
can
times.
be there or they're not, and there are some groups that are just like, look, you're a good guitarist, but we're kind of more here for the vibe. As long as we gel together, we're going to be sweet.
Yeah.
And that's a really, really important thing, because you need to sort of be on the same page, same banter. Like, I remember in Forsaken Age, we may not have been the best musicians at times, but the banter was just incredible. It's one thing I do miss about that band, is we had just some of the best humor, some of the best combos. We're all on the same page. Everyone liked everyone's humor, and it was just a funny time. And even in Death Chemist now, we're pretty good. We don't all love the same thing. Like, Seven Tenny do other stuff to us, but we're
what kind of stuff?
oh, sorry, do other stuff than we do.
Yeah. They're doing stuff to us.
Please
like, wait a
excuse me.
minute.
I'm like probably slightly dyslexic. I don't really know, but you can tell me in the comments or whatever you want. But we all have our same interest. I think on Wednesday we're all watching State of Origin. as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
And actually, we'd love to know, who do you support if you're a state of origin person? Are you maroon or are you blue? Mm-hmm. Look, we're not Australian.
Don't choose the wrong one.
Dallas is kind of Australian. He
I
is Australian.
I lived there for a little bit.
He lived there for a little bit, so that makes him somewhat Australian. And I've been to both states, so I'm not torn, but I know which one I'm going for. And if you can guess, I'll send you some money.
Yeah, but it will come from
But
podcast
you have
money.
to
so
listen to Chicken Dinner and gamble it.
Yeah. But yeah, the dynamic has to be really good. That's why a lot of bands form in school.
Yes,
Then you got like Smoke Free Rock Quest and
Don't know
stuff
if
like
anyone
that.
remembers like Marceline, but they're a great example.
Yeah.
They're I think they're still a young, or they're not together, are they?
No, they split up for some unknown reasons.
Yeah, well, obviously we're not kind of here to talk about the political reasons of why bands split up, but it's sad to hear because we played one gig with Marceline. They played our Halloween show, which ultimately was one of our greatest shows, if not probably the greatest show we've ever done to the state, and they absolutely killed it.
Yeah.
They were brilliant.
I think all those bands we played with were, except for Plague Ditch, which...
Plague Ditch didn't play that one. They played the Vice's EP release show.
Oh, okay. They were both at the same place. Like, there was some vibe. I'm confused. I can't actually remember who played.
Plague Ditch were really good too. They just had some troubles getting up here.
Yeah.
It was such a shame because unfortunately they showed up a bit late. But it's not on them. They had car troubles. But, they still put on a great set. I really enjoyed it. I was quite impressed. It's a different dynamic from a lot of bands, which is cool to see. They're doing something different.
And they seem like they have a good vibe with each other. There's a bit of an age gap between between the drummer and the guitarist and the bassist, but like they're still making it work, which is totally cool.
I mean, age shouldn't be a problem too. I don't think. In Forsaken Age, the other two members are older than me. And me and my brother were the guitarist and drummer when it was the lineup we were in. But we got on like a house on fire easily. We've gone our separate ways now, but that's how life goes. It is what it is.
Yeah, it's all about kind of coming together for a common goal, and as long as you're not being seedy.
Yeah.
I think there's this one story I heard from a friend. She was like 15 at the time, and there's this guy who was like trying to form a band, and he was like significantly older, and then she told him that her mum is coming, and he was like, "Oh, why?" I was like, "Fuck you mean why, man? Like I'm a minor, and you're well old, mate. Like, fuck, my mum's gonna come, bro. Like, don't be fucking creepy like that."
That's a little bit weird. If you like that, go away.
Yeah. Don't do that. Don't do that. But
so obviously you've been in a fair few side projects. Is it what kind of? I guess did some of them split up, or did you just leave some yourself?
Only one split up. I'm not gonna name drop it.
No. We're not here to name drop. We're not here to do anything.
But the rest of them are kind of still active. Like I mentioned,
that's
Video
good.
Nasty. No Reasons. Just being a little bit quiet right now.
Because I know when one member leaves, that can just spark the end of a band.
Yeah.
There's obviously great examples like The Doors, Led Zeppelin, those older bands. But even like in the scene, there are bands that are like, we're done if this person goes.
Yeah.
I remember, I don't know if people out there heard of a band called Silent Torture. They were huge when I was gigging around 2018. They were actually Liam and Aiden, really good friends. We need to have a catch up, boys. If you're listening to this, I will send you a message. But we used to play gigs with them, which was funny because Forsaken Age was like a traditional heavy metal band, and we were on the same bill as Death Thrash, Silent Torture, which is a hilarious combo. But it's just we got on like a house on fire. It was just so much fun. But they split up in 2019 or 2020 for a bit. I can't remember, but they made a bit of a resurgence.
Yeah,
I can't remember what happened.
Are they still like all good? Because a lot of people will split up and then like end up hating each other.
Because I know when the lineup I knew was Ross, Liam, Aiden, Elijah, and Richard. And Richard was the guitarist I knew, and he chose to leave. I can't remember why. I don't think it was a bad thing, but they were all sweet. But and then their old guitarist Grady came back in. I never met Grady. But yeah, at some point they all just kind of were like, oh, we're splitting up. But I think, yeah, as far as I know, they made a resurgence.
Oh, cool.
I could
Cool.
be completely wrong, but
yeah, keep your eyes peeled for the.
Unfortunately, I haven't been out to many gigs as I've gotten older, but
that seems to be,
I will be trying.
that seems to be something that happens. Like you outgrow the scene a little bit. I'm kind of I've been doing that a little bit, just because I have other life stuff going on. But I'm not going out as much anymore, which sucks because I really want to. I think I'm going to a gig on the weekend or something like that. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I just kind of am lacking the support that I'd like to have for other bands. It's kind of sad as you get older. You kind of do that, and you're like, oh no, like I've got to mow my lawn, and now my ankle's sore, so I can't go out, kind of thing.
It is a shame. I've definitely. I think we talked about this too. I think at some point in your, we kind of thought when you hit about 25, your brain sort. It's supposed to be the age where your brain's supposed to sort of fully have developed, and sorry, I lost my train of thought there.
Your frontal
Your brain,
lobe,
sorry, yeah, your brain's supposed to have fully developed, but I definitely noticed it in myself. You just life sort of clicks a bit more.
Yeah,
you sort of realize how things work, how life sort of look. Life throws all sorts at you, especially at the moment. That we all go through shit and we all got stuff on, but life definitely becomes a lot more clear, I guess.
Yeah.
And you sort of don't, unfortunately, have time for everything, and you've got other priorities, which is a shame because I really, really loved going to gigs when I was younger. It was funnest thing ever, and it's so awesome to see so many kids, like when we do Big Fan, all these like 15 to 17-year-olds all going out and supporting music. It's great.
Yeah, I didn't even do that when I was that age. I mean, I didn't even do music at that point, but going out so young and just that's a good fucking 10, like almost 10 years of like.
I can't
of
imagine
gig
being
stuff,
able to go to a gig when you're like 15, then going to school like the next week.
Oh, they do
was
it.
at a gig. I'm like, that's epic.
Yeah.
Like, I wish I could have done that.
Keep doing that. Yeah, don't kind of phase out of the band stuff because I'm actually going to try and be a little bit more active in the scene and go to more gigs.
I know a lot of people. There's bands I talk to. They all. It's funny how bands sort of they're ones that have been around for a while. And you're like, oh, wow, we're gigging with that band. They've been around for ages. Yeah. And you're like, what are you guys much? I was like, well, I've got a kid now, so not much. Yeah. It's like those life things do sort of come in. And it's... But you look at some of those bands, and I guess this sort of brings it back to the making it part. You look at some of those bands, you think, fuck, you've been around for ages. Like, you're a legendary sort of band in the scene. I never would have thought you had a normal life. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I thought you'd go home and like down a bottle of bourbon and
exactly. I think like it's funny how we did a couple of interviews in Wellington, and he was sort of had the guy who interviewed us had the impression that we did Death Chemist full time, and I sort of had to correct him and be like, no, we don't do this full time, man. We have jobs as well. We live normal lives. We don't make enough to live off of Death Chemist. It's just a hobby, but it feels like a second job and a fun job, which I find great. And that to me is sort of like the things we've accomplished and the things we're still doing and sort of being able to do. That kind of feels like we've made it to me. Not like in the sense of we're doing this full time and we're earning money, but we've accomplished so much just on our own. I think a lot of bands, especially when we started, we were definitely sort of waiting for opportunities to happen, like 2022, 2023. We were sort of waiting for people to ask us to play in different towns, different cities, different gigs. And I think we just sort of kind of went, now, you know what, let's just make it happen for ourselves. So we just decided 2024, we're just going to tour and do gigs in new places. And everywhere was successful. We didn't have one gig that went bad. And since then, we've gone back multiple times to a lot of these cities, which has just been amazing. So that feels like an accomplishment to me. Yeah. And now being at a stage where we're sort of recording our own music and being able to put it out ourselves, we're not relying on a studio or studio time or producers or all that kind of thing. It's just we're a working band doing it ourselves and having fun while doing it as well.
I don't think bands or artists in general, whether you're solo or a side project, it's easy to feel like you can just wait around and wait for it to happen when it happens.
Definitely.
But if and some people get upset because they're not. It doesn't go as fast as they want, but you have the ability, and if you've got the resources as well, some of us don't. I know we didn't have it at the start.
No, definitely not.
You can build that stuff up, and then you can just send it, and then even if you don't know how to do it, and then you just learn how to do it, and
that's exactly what we've been doing. You're right on the money there. Like the Vices EP we just released. That's the first time we've ever put anything out that was self-recorded.
Yeah.
We just were like, you know what, we're just going to record this with what gear we have and zero budget, and just what it is what it is.
Yeah, and we're not too pedantic on how we're not perfectionists on it. Even I think I think the album stuff, because it was the first one, we're like, oh, it needs to be a little bit more. But I think that the imperfections kind of make it
definitely
more perfect.
Absolutely,
if that makes sense.
You learn as you go, which is great. Like people always say, your second album's best because you've done one and you know what you're doing this time.
Yeah.
We're currently working on our second album, so we're hoping it's going to be one of the best. I think anyone can sort of learn how to do your own recording, your own graphics, your own video shoots. You can kind of learn to do everything, and it's better to figure it out yourself because you can't rely on people to do it for you, and you can't wait around, like you said. You can't wait around for people to sort of. You can't wait for that one record label guy who might be at Ding Dong Lounge on the day that you're playing. Go, you know what? I kind of like this guy.
How would you like a six fucking digit?
Six-figure record deal. But like
you're
for example,
famous starting now.
For example, like we're doing this podcast with I got some new recording gear this year, speakers, interface, all that stuff, and we're doing it on my computer. But I didn't do any sort of degree in recording or really didn't watch any videos. I watched some tutorials here and there, but I'm no professional sound recordist at all. I'm figuring this out as we go. And that's sort of the fun of it,
Yeah.
Like with the Vices EP, I learned a fuck ton about recording, which was great because I did it. Everyone's gonna laugh. I did it on Audacity on a PC.
The Audacity,
yeah, I know,
would use
with
that
a 2-channel Focusrite interface. And
everyone's got one of those.
An electric drum kit, some pretty much DI'd everything, and the vocals were recorded on these guys. And honestly, these guys are some of my favorite microphones, the 57s. They're fucking amazing.
Yeah, they're great. That's why we swapped the bigger one for
just
for
finding
this
it
one.
a bit more clearer for speaking. The 7B we use that Dallas had last time. We use that for our sort of vocal demos. That sounds brilliant with Tenny's voice, but he's singing.
Yeah.
And he's really soaring, We're just speaking like normal people.
I'm talking and I have a fucked up speaking voice, and Tenny has a really great singing voice. So, that's why this one sounds better when I talk.
Yeah, right. and I've sort of taken on doing a lot of the poster and artwork, not album stuff, just like posters for the band. That's something you should really sort of learn how to do. I think this is all just good advice for younger bands.
Oh,
just starting
out. You can't really see the whole thing, but that's the Afterpay poster.
Dallas will put one up in at this point in the video. 3, 2, 1. It'll be right here.
It was just it was just taken in our living room on a iPhone.
Yeah,
shot with iPhone.
We had a couple of. I had a good friend. She did kind of magic on it, Photoshop magic, and I was like, wow. But you kind of need to learn. You can rely on people to do it all the time, and it just sort of became more convenient for us to do our own graphics. It's a lot easier to sort of DIY it. I mean, I'll give a shout out to a band. They're definitely a lot bigger than most of us, and they're on the other side of the world. There's a band I follow called Assenville. I'm sure a lot of people may have heard of it too, but they're a perfect example of sort of DIYing it on their own. They're doing really well for themselves. No labels, no management. They're just on their own. But we're riding that train, and I'm having a lot of fun doing it our way because I feel like you learn sort of every trick you need to, and a lot of life skills.
Especially if you've like we mentioned before, if you've got a band that you gel with and you're like really close to, and everyone's got the motivation to do it, then it just becomes so much easier.
Yeah,
and especially if one of the
definitely.
guys has like a little bit of gear as well, and then you can kind of like you get a head start on that. But yeah, not waiting
Yeah.
around and like
Yeah.
I gotta work like 20 more weeks to save up so I can get this this thing, or so I can pay for this dude to do it. And it's like, why don't we just go to my house and like hop in the garage with the laptop and like fucking bang out like a tune and shit.
Yeah. I think a lot of people as well, they sort of compare their work and their recordings to nowadays some of the nowadays metal stuff, which is ultra mega recorded with a good, brilliant studio budget and proper studios. Whereas I think everyone are aiming for that crisp, amazing quality, everything, and that's something.
I find that's like super over processed, and
That's
I
the
can't
feeling.
listen to it. I just can't.
That's the feeling a lot of people were saying to me as well.
It's like, is that a guitar, or like that doesn't even sound real?
Because the Forsaken Age, I did an album with them that was recorded in a studio, and I thought it sounded amazing, but it was modern, and being an old school metal band, I thought we kind of wanted the old school sound, but it didn't really sort of come through on that.
Yeah.
But like our first album to me sounds great. I'm stoked with it. It's a home recording. It was done by James Dentis of Melanie.
Shout out Melanie.
That's a band that's not really around.
No.
I guess not unofficially. I don't know if I should have said that.
Yeah.
Sorry, James, if you're listening to this. Anyway, look. Whoops.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll cut that out. No, we won't. Sorry, James, if you heard that. But yeah, look, James recorded our first album, and it, real drums being recorded, real guitars, everything, and it just sounds like a good recording in a lounge.
Yeah.
Which is great. That's the vibe I like. I like it to have that sort of homemade feel, because it feels like everything sort of sits together better. Feels a bit more comfortable,
I saw a video today of like the old way to like do music versus the new way, and it was like this guy, and he's playing and he does the whole thing, and he's like, I don't like that, let's like do it again, like 3 takes later, whatever, and then it cuts to like how people do music these days, and they're like doing a solo, and then he's like, I'm gonna cut out that because I don't like that 3 seconds. And it's like you can actually like literally take stuff out like of the middle of things, rather than just doing it raw and sending it in one go and just trying to get it like as good as possible.
Definitely.
And now people can just like edit it any which way, and it just kind of fucks it up. Like more or less,
I think a good episode to talk about would be recording, because my first time recording was absolutely daunting.
Yeah.
So we'll save that, because there's so much to talk about with recording.
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. I think there's definitely, we're going to have a lot more episodes in this. There's so much more to talk about in such a small time frame. So,
yeah, definitely.
But I think we covered a lot, and if whoever listens to this, hopefully they take some of that stuff on, because we learned it and we're kind of passing it on.
Yeah, I feel like we've sort of learned. We've made all the mistakes almost. Not mistakes, but we've sort of learnt the lessons, and I feel like we're passing on the wisdom a little bit, which is kind of fun. But we're also still learning ourselves, which is a lot of fun. We've got things planned we're going to do, and we're just going to, see what happens. I mean, we're learning every day. Things change, and it's fun to sort of pass on that wisdom to people. Yeah.
We're not like your angry dad that's like, you have to do it this way because that's how we've been doing it for 30 years.
It's kind of nice being like, this is how we did it.
Yeah.
We ran into these problems, so if you're going to do it this way, but maybe try this.
Yeah, it's all about which is cool. Figuring it out. Everyone
absolutely.
Does it all differently.
All right. I think that's us for tonight. Thanks again for listening, everyone.
Yeah, thanks.
We're just going to shout out a couple of gigs that are coming up this week. You should definitely go to if you're out and about. We might be going, but we're not really sure.
Maybe. Well, not exactly this week. I think just
just coming up in general.
Coming up in the next couple of weeks. We got. You heard of Powder Shoots?
No,
Powder Shoots. So they're a new band that are. I think they're new.
Oh, cool.
I actually don't know. I have to look that up. I've listened to a couple of their songs, and they opened for. Highly Suspect.
Oh,
I think I mentioned that last time as well. They opened for Highly Suspect.
Good
and
on
they were
them.
really
That's
good.
great.
And now they're just kind of boom, 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 rising the ranks. So they're playing at Big Fan, I think, here in Auckland. They're playing with Animal Head. We know Animal Head.
Yeah, we played with
love
Animal Head. I loved Animal Head. They were great.
Silk Row as well.
Yeah, I played with them. I knew those guys back in the day too when they were close to the
Yeah,
bone.
formerly known as Close to the Bone.
Great guys. Yeah, good music
Yeah.
too.
And Haast Hunter. Which
I've not heard of them.
They're from Hamilton.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's probably why. No, just kidding. Just kidding. But yeah,
Hamilton's got a good repertoire.
It's an R18 show, so if you're underage, don't even think about it.
You will be escorted off the premises.
Yeah. And like I mentioned earlier, we got Battle of the Bands. The semi-finals on the 29th.
Nice.
So a couple on Thursday. There's just
Thursday?
the semi-final.
Oh, wow.
The
Shit,
semi-final. And then the Auckland final for whoever goes in through that is on the 5th of June. And the only way that a band can kind of get through, or a band that you want, is if you vote for them.
That's
so
right.
You have to go and you have to, write your little name down and tick who you want.
That's
to
actually
go
a good
to.
tip because we did it and we got through with the most audience votes.
Yeah.
Out of most people, because we bought a lot of friends, but a lot of people did vote for us, which was really great.
I think audience votes.
But yeah,
cost
go
for,
support your friends, go support your bands, because that does make a difference.
Yeah.
It really does.
They're like 50% of the votes, or
Yeah,
something like that. And then the 30th. So when's that? Saturday. This
30th,
Saturday.
mate. Yeah, this Saturday. Yep.
This Saturday. There's the band Too Late.
I don't think I've heard of them.
It's I think they've come out of retirement or whatever for a final gig. So I don't think they were officially like calling it quits, but now they kind of are.
Right.
So I guess they're doing one more gig with Marshall Law, Dredge, and Hoon as well. Yeah, all good bands.
Nice.
I've heard of Hoon and I've heard of Marshall Law, but I don't know Dredge.
Well, there's some good stuff on this week. So if you're out and about, keen to see some gigs, there's your info.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, we'll be back next week with
be back
more
next week.
topics and a guest, maybe a guest.
Yeah, next week we plan on having a guest. We haven't locked it in, so we're not going to tell you who it is. But we thank you for the suggestions of guests too. We've got a list of people we really want to interview. Once we lock in some people, we'll do a post.
Yeah,
get some of your questions in there too.
Yeah.
It's always great to hear what you guys think. But yeah, that's us for the evening. Thanks for tuning in once again.
Yeah, thanks.
And
guys.
I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe the page. So there's the Spotify page for the podcast, the Chem Room. Then we have the Instagram page as well, the Chem Room, and then YouTube as well, which is where you'll find the videos of this. If you feel like watching a videos instead, I mean it's the same thing, just with a video.
Yeah, I feel like videos are quite a thing for podcasts anyway.
Yeah.
But hey, if you like them, that's great. But if you don't, we can just get rid of them.
Yeah, I can't figure out how to do it like upload it onto the Spotify, because you can do that, because that's what I do. I watch podcasts and I put it in my thing in my car while I'm driving and I'm like kind of watching TV. Like,
Okay, look, I'm not gonna commend that.
yeah, no,
do not do that.
Yeah, no, don't
Just
do that.
listen to
Don't
it,
do that.
please.
Yeah,
We don't want to be
Yeah,
responsible for someone crashing their car.
I know. Yeah, it's mostly listening, but then like every once in a while, just like my eyes will like dart over. I'm like, oh.
But yeah, thank you for the support so
Yeah.
far. Please keep showing. Please share with your friends, because
Yes.
we plan on doing lots more and interviewing lots of people. So
Yep.
next week we'll have a guest on for sure.
Yep, every Monday.
All right.
Cool.
Thanks very much.
See you later, guys.
See you next time.